Hello everyone, I'm Terry Candlestick and welcome back to the channel. Today we've got more Echo. Where we left off last time, Jenna, Carl, Chase, and Raven had just escaped from the cabin. So now we're going to be venturing out into the blackness to see what comes next. Not only do things go dark visually, but the change is physical too. I don't know if it's all in my head, but I feel heavier, like the darkness is pushing down on my shoulders. It's colder too, to the point where I can feel the heat radiating off of Carl's body when I brush up against him.
Doing okay, man?
Yeah, you?
Yeah, I'm good.
The going is slow, and not just because of my injured, probably broken ankle. The ground is uneven and rocky, like we're outside walking in the desert. Which I realize is exactly what we're doing when we walk straight into what feels like a sagebrush. Carl threshes around with the hand not holding on to me, and we're able to sort of stumble around it. Where the hell are we? I mutter as I stub my toe painfully on a rock.
Outside?
Yeah, but where outside?
The desert, right?
So, do you think that we're still in Echo? Carl's quiet for a moment.
Maybe, but not really. I mean, I don't think we can just walk to our houses.
I wonder if maybe all the others, TJ, Leo, and Flynn, are out here too, in the darkness. I want to call out, but I'm too nervous that that's going to attract something to us. I still remember the black figure dancing around the fire we're walking towards at this very moment. But close enough now that I'm starting to be able to make out Carl in the darkness. I look back at the house to see how far we've gone. All that I can make out now are two rectangles of light. One for the door we came out of and one for the kitchen window. In the latter, a dark figure stands framed by faint light inside. I squint, not really sure of what I'm seeing. Then it moves, disappearing from the window. I stop walking and Carl stops with me, looking back over his shoulder.
What?
I don't... Did one of the others go back? The dark figure appears again, this time in the doorway of the house. I don't even have time to react to that before it steps forward and the door swings shut with a distant snap. Oppressive darkness takes its place. I grab onto Carl more tightly.
What the hell?
My mind flashes back to the thing I'd seen crawling out of the wardrobe. Come on. I nudge into Carl's side, trying to get him to hurry along while resisting the urge to try and run on my twisted ankle. I'm realizing that it might come to that. Raven! Jenna! I call out into the darkness ahead of us, wanting to warn them. Over our ragged breathing, though, there's dead silence all around us, except for a drum beat. Either they can't hear us, or they can't respond. Carl's gripping onto me with both of his hands, practically hauling me off my feet as he pulls me along. Suddenly, he stops.
What the fuck am I doing?
He lets go of me and crouches down in front of me.
On my back!
I'm there before he even finishes his sentence, and soon my face is bouncing off his hard skull as he starts sprinting towards the fire. Whether it's in my head or not, I swear I can hear a slithering sound behind me, like a snake sliding over dry leaves. I shiver, not wanting to look back, but I do anyway, trying to peer into the darkness. Of course, I can't see anything, but I swear something flashes in front of the lone triangle of light coming from the cabin's kitchen window. The rustling sounds get louder, and now I can't pretend that I'm imagining it. It casts a picture into my mind. That black shadow creature contorting and bending through the sagebrush that Carl was having so much trouble moving through. I hold on to one of his horns and lean towards his ear. "Carl, it's getting close." And then my stomach lurches as it feels like the floor just suddenly drops away. The next thing I know, my nose smacks hard into the back of Carl's head before I flip over, landing on my back in what feels like a sea of sharp rocks. I lay there for a second, dazed, staring at the black ocean above me, wondering if any of this is real. Am I dreaming? Maybe I'll just wake up in my dorm, probably late to my legal and ethics issues in journalism class.
Fuck! Are you okay?
A muffled voice breaks through my haze of confusion and pain. Then I'm being yanked back up as Carl pulls me to my feet and clumsily shoves me back onto his back.
Shit. Sorry. Shit. Sorry.
Fine. I'm fine. I can barely mumble through my numb mouth, which feels like it's full of pennies. Might be your teeth. I can see I'm making dark stains on the back of Carl's shirt. It really might be your teeth. It feels like my face is caved in. I wonder if my nose is broken, but the fear of the pursuit is returning and I quickly clutch at Carl's horns before he resumes his sprint. He finally comes to a stumbling halt in front of the massive bonfire, which had looked so small from the cabin. We both stare up at it, the heat almost unbearable. The whispers behind me reach a crescendo, and the hissing just over my shoulder.
What are we supposed to do?
My voice raises in pitch as I look back behind us, the black shape now discernible in the firelight as it slithers around the rocks and sagebrush. It looks like a person imitating a snake. I grip onto Carl as he turns to face it, then takes a step back, then another.
I don't know,
I cling to the ram, and I can feel him trembling underneath me. As the creature reaches the edge of the circle of firelight, Carl turns and starts running past the fire. And then my muscles seize up, my jaw clenches, my eyes roll back, and I feel myself falling backwards. The heat is almost unbearable, and my fur is damp from sweat, the skin underneath itching and uncomfortable. I can feel the sun on my face, the brightness turning the insides of my eyelids a dazzling red. I don't want to open them, though. No, I just want to sleep. I almost do fall asleep, but a distant chorus of shouts and screams jolts me back awake. Now I do try to open my eyes, but I can't. It's like they're glued shut. I reach up to paw at them, but my arms won't lift. I must be dreaming, stuck in a paralysis. So I lay there, listening to the shouting and screaming, imagining an angry mob. After what seems like hours, the voices fade and the red turns deeper, darker, blood-like, as if the sun is setting. And that's when I can finally drift away, back to sleep. A soft, choking moan brings me back to the surface. I'm still hot and sweaty, but the blazing sun isn't shining in my face anymore. I wiggle my fingers and shift my arms a bit, feeling them glide over fabric. At least I'm not paralyzed anymore. Another moan, followed by a coughing sound, forces me to open my eyes, realizing it's not part of a dream. I stare up at the ceiling, a textured beige ceiling. I'm back in the room where I'd slept. How long ago? A day? A few days? It doesn't matter because everything comes back to me at once. I feel like a lead weight has just dropped on to my chest, knocking the wind out of me. Fuck. Is this not over? Now I'm starting to become convinced that this is never going to end. We're stuck in a loop, just like in my dreams. Another moan, slightly weaker, makes me sit up and look around the room. I'm alone as far as I can tell. Where are the others? Am I actually alone? I can't stop a soft whimper coming from my mouth at the thought of being separated from the others. I was barely keeping it together with Carl, but without him. A loud cough through the wall behind me makes me jump again. I quickly slide off the bed and immediately cringe as my weight comes to rest on my swollen ankle. I sag against the bed for a moment, squinting my eyes shut as I wonder why my ankle is only getting stiffer. Maybe the fall Carl had taken made it even worse. The thought of those moans could be coming from Carl spurs me to straighten up and carefully hop towards the door. I have to stifle a short yelp with every bounce, and by the time I reach the doorframe, I have to lean against it to catch my breath. My hands shake as I rub my eyes, the pain making me wonder if I'll ever be able to walk without a limp again. Another groan from the room next to me forces me to move again. In the hallway now, I'm able to make out the sounds a bit better and realize it has a feminine quality to it. Jenna? My voice comes out in a crackly squeak and I grunt to clear my throat. Jenna? I try again and wait, but I get no response in return. I force myself to step into the hallway, clinging to the wall for support. When I look down the hall to the door next to mine, I find something very familiar. A damaged wooden door, the middle bulging and splintered out as if something had hit it from the other side. Memories of a bad smell, a dark concrete room, and a noose. I hold tighter to the door frame, feeling my knees tremble, both from the pain and the fear. I look behind me hoping to see Carl, maybe even Raven. A shuffling sound followed by another cough and gurgle draws my eyes back to the door. If it's Jenna, I have to act now. I steady myself against the wall as I hop slowly to the door, eyes watering with pain now. Reaching out with a shaking hand, I start to slowly push at the door. I'm hoping that I might be able to crack it open just a little bit and not draw the attention of whatever is inside. The door only shifts a little, though, and seems to catch on the ground beneath it. It lets out a rough, scratching sound that makes my fur rise up. Gritting my teeth, I forego the stealthy approach and give it a hard shove. This time, it opens halfway and I'm able to see into the room. Just like last time, there's no light coming from within the room itself. Instead, I have to rely on the dim yellow light coming from the hallway. It casts a widening band of light into the concrete room as the door opens. The smell hits me like a wave, and I immediately gag, doubling over and pressing my hand to my nose before pulling up the neck of my shirt over my nose. Sure, I smell like BO from the 2 days of running in fear, but it's better than the sweet smell of rotting meat that envelops me. Still shaking, I peer into the room while I lean against the door. I'm only able to see the cracked concrete floor and the walls. The grunting, choking sounds reach a peak now, and it's coming from beyond the band of light. It's an inky blackness that isn't all that different from what Carl and I had run through. Hello? No response. It sounds like the grunting has stopped, too. Shit. Now I have to do something. I think about just kicking the door open and jumping back, but then I realize there's really nothing I can do with my feet right now. Taking a deep breath, I set both hands against the door. I still myself for whatever I'm about to see, then shove the door as hard as I can. The door swings in suddenly, scraping horribly against the floor the entire way. I yelp at the suddenness of it all, and the tension all exploding out of me at once as I jump back in fear. The band of light widens, sweeping over the entirety of the concrete room before the door finally lodges against the wall with a snapping sound. I almost lose my balance, arms swinging around cartoonishly as I try to hop on one foot. At the same time, I'm fearfully eyeing the opening, terrified of what I'm about to see. And what I do see is definitely terrifying. It's Jenna, in the middle of the room. She's hanging from the noose, her muzzle tilted up so I'm able to clearly see the rope digging into her fur around her neck, painfully tight. Her toes are barely touching the floor, but it doesn't even look like she's trying to keep herself up. It looks like she's unconscious. Jenna! There's no response, and I find myself leaping in her direction. I forget about my ankle until all of my weight comes down on it twice in my mad dash, and I literally scream as it happens. There isn't any time to worry about it, though, as I grab at Jenna, unsure of what to do. First, I try to wrap my arms around her and lift her up, screaming again as I set my weight down on my foot. She doesn't respond to any of this and just hangs limp in my arms, which terrifies me even more. I reach up and pluck uselessly at the hangman's knot that I immediately know isn't going to budge no matter how much I pull. Carl! Carl, help! I feel myself starting to panic. Desperately, I look around, trying to find something, anything I might be able to use to cut at the rope. Jenna! I call up to her. I can't see her eyes from this angle, but I can't feel any movement in her. I try to press my ear against her chest, but I'm not sure if I'm doing it in the right spot. I try to quiet my breathing and actually listen, but I still can't hear anything. Shit! Shit! Carl! I feel myself start to hyperventilate and try again to slow my breathing. If I pass out right now, I'm going to be less help than I already am. The world is starting to take on a surreal tint, and I think I'm actually dreaming. I think about running to the kitchen, but I don't want to let her go, especially since I feel like she's on the edge of dying right now. I reach up again, start trying to worm my fingers underneath the rope, but it's useless. It's way too tight. My eyes start to water as I realize I'm not helping her at all right now, aside from maybe taking a little pressure off of her neck. But it might be too late anyway. Help! I'm suddenly hyper-aware of the screaming pain in my ankle, and I feel it giving out. So are my arms, burning with the strain of trying to hold Jenna up. I press my face against her chest, feeling myself start to give up on everything. And then suddenly the weight disappears and I feel Jenna lift up several inches into the air. I look up and see Carl next to me, his big arms easily able to keep the fox off the ground. Not only that, he's got a knife in one hand. I recognize it as the same knife Carl had used earlier in the hallway. Carl! I sob with relief as he set to sawing at the rope, and soon all three of us come crashing to the ground as Jenna's cut free. We lay there in a heaving heap. The only sound is our gasps as we all try to catch our breaths, Jenna being the loudest. After a while, I sit up and look over at her. She's already sitting up herself, one hand on her neck rubbing at it. Are you okay? I reach out to her. I'm fine. She leans away a little from my hand, so I drop it. I thought you were going to die, Jenna. My voice is all shuddery, and I struggle to keep my emotions under control, to not have a panic attack. Whatever was controlling this whole scenario just tried to kill one of us. Then I guess that's already happened with that shadow creature thing. And even with what's happening to Raven. Jenna picks up the knife and brings it to her neck, starting to saw away at the rope. I can help. She ignores me. I look over at Carl and see that he's flat on his back, arms spread out. Thank you, Carl. I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't showed up. Carl raises a hand in acknowledgement. How the hell did you get a knife? Carl takes a few more gasps to catch his breath.
I heard you guys and saw that.
He gestures up to the hanging rope. The end of it frizzled out after the cut. Frizzed out.
Remembered that the knife I dropped when we were here before.
Thank God. We lay there a while longer, Jenna busy hacking at the rope, Carl choosing to stare up at the ceiling. That almost peaceful silence is shattered as a husky stumbles into the door frame, grasping the wall as he practically trips in.
Oh, hey guys!
He grins, waving a hand at us as he rights himself. He looks around at us, taking in the scene.
What happened?
Jenna got hanged. Carl cut her down. There's really no way to sugarcoat it.
Oh crap!
He stares wide-eyed at Jenna.
Well, guess it's surprising it wasn't me this time, huh?
He lets out a high-pitched, nervous laugh. None of us even cracks a smile.
You're okay, though.
Fine. Raven looks around the room.
Well, it looks like we're still here.
Carl lets out a big, shuddery breath.
I don't know if I can do this anymore.
What do you mean?
We're stuck. I don't know what else we're supposed to do.
Just keep looking around. We're finding stuff, right?
And then what? Get sucked into another fucked up place where we'll be chased around and almost killed?
He waves his hand in Jenna's direction.
Look what just happened. It wants us dead.
Carl. I trail off.
What?
I try to think of something to say, anything that might convince the ram to keep going. Just a while ago. Minutes? Hours? Days? I was having the same doubts. But for some reason, Carl's sudden demeanor of defeat has me more motivated. Because if Carl gives up, what else is there to keep me going? There's a soft snap and I look over to see that Jenna's pulled the rope from her throat. How's your neck? Jenna rubs it. Fine. Her voice has an air of complete disinterest despite the situation. She seems distracted too, her eyes flicking around at the ceiling like she's expecting something to happen up there. I look up too, but all I see is concrete that's spiderwebbed with cracks. The rope, I notice, is hanging from nothing. It sort of just grows out of the ceiling. Carl lets out another sigh next to me.
Wish I had a joint.
I feel a small flicker of annoyance. And how will that help anything? Carl's quiet for a moment, clearly sensing the change in my mood. I immediately regret it, but I don't have the energy to take it back.
Because it might make me feel a little better.
By making you feel less? We need to be alert right now. So we can figure this out. I bring my tone back down to normal, realizing how unfair it might be if I get mad at Carl right now.
I don't know if we can, though.
Carl's lips tug down in a frown, and it looks like he's trying to keep himself from crying. Before I can say anything to comfort him, Jenna speaks up. You will. Her voice is dark, firm, completely unlike the way Jenna has ever spoken before. We both look at her and she sits there, legs crossed, staring hard at us. Well, at me. Carl sits up.
Jenna.
Jenna doesn't look at him. Instead, she keeps looking at me.
John?
Now she does look at Carl. And it's out of instinct. Her eyes darting to him before looking back at me. I recognize it as that almost unstoppable urge to look the way you hear your name being called. Yeah, we'd suspected. And Jenna had just acted weird, but to think that she was that consumed by him. Carl glances at me meaningfully. We haven't asked her directly about it yet, so I guess now's the time. Hey, Jenna, are you feeling okay? I'm feeling fine. It's just that you haven't seemed like yourself for a while now. What do you mean? I look over at Carl as he shifts himself around on the floor.
Listen, when we first got here, and even a little before then, I was feeling weird.
Carl pauses as he seems to be searching for the right words.
Sort of like something else had become a part of me.
Jenna narrows her eyes at Carl, but doesn't say anything.
There was another voice in my head almost. And after a while, I knew it was that guy, James, in my head.
Sounds like you're going crazy. Carl frowns.
Maybe. But he was making me act different, feel different. It was kind of fucked up, to be honest.
Weird.
Yeah, weird. But it was easy to get him out of my head.
Carl points at his horns.
And he's not there anymore.
Jenna keeps that stern look on her face, frowning at Carl. What are you trying to say?
Well, do you know a guy named John? John Begay?
Not really. You keep mentioning him, but no one's told me who he is, aside from the fact that he was hanged. I remember the picture I'd taken of John back in Carl's crawl space. My hand feels my phone through my pocket as I almost reach in to pull it out before remembering that it's dead. He was in some of the pictures with James Hendricks, the founder of the town. Jenna stares at me blankly. James was Carl's ancestor, right? We think that John was your ancestor too. He was a fox, and has the same last name. So? So wasn't your family an echo since the beginning? Yes. So it seems like you're probably related to him, right? Jenna stares hard at me, then at Carl. Our family doesn't have records like yours, Carl. Carl frowns again.
You say it like it's my fault.
Maybe it is. Carl starts to sputter again, but I cut in before he can defend himself. See? Jenna doesn't talk like that. You wouldn't be saying something like that. Jenna doesn't say anything, keeping her glare at Carl. Carl clears his throat nervously.
What I'm trying to say is that maybe your ancestor is in your head like mine was.
I don't think so. Carl lets out a frustrated sigh.
I mean, something's different with you, dude. I can see it. Chase sees it.
I nod in confirmation. Raven suddenly cuts in.
I mean, I don't know you that well, but if we're going by how a normal person acts, You're not acting very normal.
We're not in a normal situation like that, are we? Carl shakes his head.
I know you can't resist it like I did, Jenna. You've always had a real strong mind. Way stronger than mine.
Carl swallows.
So it shouldn't be a problem for you to stop it like I did.
Jenna shrugs. Nothing's wrong with me, Carl. We all go quiet then. Besides, isn't this about clearing James' name, or whatever? Why are we talking about John? Jenna stares at Carl, eyes moving across his face like she's searching for something. Carl stares hard right back at her.
Unless you don't want to fight it?
Jenna's expression remains emotionless.
I mean, are you letting him?
I don't know, Carl. Are you letting him control you?
No, I already told you, I fought him out.
How do we know that's true? Carl throws his hands up.
Dude, why would I lie?
Carl looks at me for some help. Yeah, Carl's way different than he was earlier. He's himself now. But how do you know that? I don't know what else to say to Jenna to convince her. Of course, I can't be completely sure. The only person that can know is Carl. He says he isn't possessed anymore, and I trust him on that.
Jenna, he isn't. I promise.
You think James kept his promises? Carl and I share a look.
Jenna...
Oh, this is Chase. Jenna, what do you mean by that? A strange look crosses Jenna's face, breaking out of the stoic detachment she's been portraying for the last several... however long it's been. It's confused, but it's also like she wants to say something with her mouth open. Jenna? She seems to be frozen like that for a moment before she seems to finally give up, shaking her head. I don't know. She glares at Carl. He blanches defensively.
What? You keep acting like this is my fault.
Maybe it is. This time, Raven cuts in before Carl can say anything.
Is James stopping John from saying something?
I watched Jenna closely, and that's when she finally looks away. I don't know. Jenna, are John and James upset with one another? Jenna shrugs, not looking at me. Carl lets out a sigh of frustration.
Jenna, we need to figure this out.
Listen, I don't know much about these guys, but it sounds like James and John are trying to tell us something. Like...
Raven looks back and forth between Carl and Raven.
And trying to stop the other from telling us something.
I rub my face with my hands, feeling frustrated, just wishing these two assholes could tell us what it is they want to say. So they're trying to tell us something about the past, and they both don't want us to know what the other knows?
Maybe that's what we're supposed to figure out?
So it's not as simple as just clearing James' name. John has something to say too, and he sure as hell wants us to hear it. I close my eyes. We're stuck in the middle of a possessed ghost fight, with each of them trying to tell us their version of a story. The whole thing seems ridiculous, insane, but I really don't have anything else to go off of.
Did you find anything out about them in the crawlspace?
I try to think back. Like I've said, they both got convicted of sodomy. John was hanged and James left to start his ice cream business.
So why wasn't James hanged too?
His influence in the town, probably?
Well, I can see how that might cause problems between the two of them.
I look over at Carl, who's still looking at Jenna. Jenna's picking at the rope in her lap. Hey, did James tell you anything while you were under his influence? Like, did he say anything? Carl rubs his chin.
Not really. It's weird. I just sort of felt different. I said things I wouldn't normally say, but I guess I never heard any voices.
There isn't much more to talk about at this point. Unless one of the spirits decides to do something else that can help us along somehow. So, what are we supposed to do next exactly? Raven points at the back of the room.
There's a door there.
We all look in the direction he's pointing. Sure enough, there is a door there. It's a concrete door practically cut out of the wall. It's featureless aside from a rusty metal handle. What? Was that there before?
I think I wouldn't have seen it the first time I looked in.
Jenna stands up, taking a few steps towards the door.
What? We're just gonna go through another door?
Carl's laying down on the floor on his back, staring up at the ceiling again. I can understand where he's coming from. Another door to possibly another nightmare? But his sudden reluctance is making it easier for me to find the strength to keep going. I reach out, resting a hand on his. Carl, this might be the last one. It might be the way out. Carl snorts.
Seriously, dude? You think they're just gonna let us go? We've accomplished nothing.
We can leave you here if you prefer that. I glare at Jenna, but she's not even looking at me, instead staring at the concrete door. Carl, we have to keep moving. If we go through another door, we're at least going somewhere.
Yeah. And besides, the bad stuff has only happened to me and Jenna, so you guys probably have nothing to worry about.
We can't stay here forever. I gently stroke the back of Carl's furry hand. He laughs again.
Maybe we could. Just keep pulling grilled cheese sandwiches out of the cupboard.
Carl props himself up on his elbows.
Who knows? Maybe I can get some weed out of there.
Carl looks back out into the hallway, apparently seriously considering that. Come on, man. We're all going in together. I reach out both my hands to him expectantly since I can't get up on my own. Carl stares at them contemplatively for a moment, then finally gets to his feet while pulling me up onto his back with a loud grunt.
All right, man. But if this freaking spooky ghost dimension goes on for another fucking door, I'm gonna pull a joint from the magical cupboard.
Of course. Jenna's already standing in front of the door.
Man, I don't want to pass out again. We just did that.
I look back towards the hallway. You know, maybe we should check the rest. Jenna reaches forward to grab up the metal handle, and before any of us can say anything more, she yanks it open. A trail leads through the desert landscape and cacti and boulders. Oh. They could have used a comma. A trail leads through the desert landscape, and cacti and boulders obscure my view on either side. The ground is rocky and dust kicks up with each step I take. As I continue up the path, I can see the 3 peaks of the Casa Demonio mountains in front of me. I'm heading towards the town of Echo, just over those mountains. As I get closer, I notice that the trail branches off toward the side of the mountain. I follow the trail with my eyes into the hazy distance, almost disappearing into the heat waves. Still, I can make out a small, dark hole. The mine. Some things should just be left alone. Dust swirls silently at the mouth of the mine, almost sparkling in the bright noon light. Every single person here. Something seems to pulse out of the entrance, sending an almost visible wave through the air. You will never escape. You will always come back. Red seeps from the hole, running up the side of the mountain in a wave, turning rock and dust the color of blood. You'll always be running in circles. I start jogging up the trail, panting in the desert heat, not sure what I'm doing. The sky in front of me lights up that same ominous red color in the direction of Echo. Somehow I'm able to scale the side of the mountain in just seconds. I get to the peak and look over the edge. I see the town, but it's not the town I remember, at least not all of it. Lake Emma is in the distance to the left. The motel and supermarket are to the right. But the ruins by the lake aren't just old foundation remnants anymore. They're fully standing now with their log walls and roofs. Several dozen more houses run up the side of the lake, standing in stark contrast to the more modern buildings further away toward Main Street. There are even a few buildings that I don't recognize. And there, just below me, is Carl's house. But it's different. The mansion is bigger. The walls a lighter color. It looks older. Somehow I'm already there, like I just teleported straight down to stand on the road in front of Carl's house. I stare down the slope toward the town, and there, next to the road, is a wooden platform built out under a tree. There's a rope hanging from the tree. A noose. I look back down at the town, at all the different buildings. But no matter which structure I'm looking at, one thing's the same. They're all lit up blood red. I watch as what looks like spinning blades come slowly into focus above me. I tense up, but only for a moment as I realize what it is. A ceiling fan. Wait, a ceiling fan? Isn't that... I sit up quickly, only to immediately swoon as the room starts to spin around me. I grip onto whatever I'm sitting on, and it happens to be soft and smooth. I look down and see that I'm on top of a blue comforter. Not blue. To my left, Jenna, Raven, and Carl are stretched out next to me on a king-sized bed. To my right, sunshine streams in from sliding glass doors, outside of which is a massive deck. Past that porch are the mountains and desert of Echo. We're back. Oh my God, we're back! Guys! I shake Carl next to me. He immediately swings a hand to slap at me, but I persist until he's forced to sit up, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. Jenna and Raven stir next to him.
What is it? What happened?
Guys, we're back! We're back in your house, Carl!
Carl finally snaps his eyes open at that. Raven sits up next to Carl, and I see him sway with the same dizziness that I had earlier.
Where are we?
My parents' room.
Carl's voice is hushed, quiet, as if afraid if he speaks too loudly this will all disappear. Relief like I've never known before flows through my body. Whether or not it was a dream, or a hallucination, or we were drugged somehow, it doesn't matter. What matters now is that we're home. Well, in Echo at least. I look over at Jenna, hoping to see her back to her old familiar self. But I find her staring around suspiciously, that dark look still in her eye. Maybe it'll take longer to wear off? I slowly push myself off the bed, the height of it making it more difficult for my feet to reach the ground. I touch down with my good foot. I'm a bit surprised when my toes come in contact with the cold, hardwood floor. I thought this room had carpet the last time I was in here. I look at Carl and see a confused look on his face, the fur on his brow crinkling up in the bright sunshine.
Something's a little off, man.
What?
Something's wrong.
I feel the beginnings of that sinking sensation in my chest again. Why?
My parents' room isn't this big.
I look around. I guess it looks a little bigger than usual. The balcony seems to be the right size, though.
And the floor.
He points at my feet.
Where's the carpet?
Carl confirms my suspicions. The dread continues to grow in my stomach.
Maybe they took the carpet out while we were gone?
No one responds to that ridiculous idea. Jenna looks at the wall behind the bed and reaches out a hand to touch it tentatively. Carl lets out a loud, almost maniacal laugh.
It's like I'm in a weird dream of my house or something.
Carl pushes himself off the bed, his hooves clopping loudly, unnervingly against the hardwood floor that shouldn't exist.
Fuck.
Yeah. Fuck.
I can see the same emotions I feel in my chest playing out in Carl's eyes right now. He reaches out to give me some support.
Well, maybe there are other people here.
Even Raven's cheerful expression is forced and strained. I guess I was expecting that we'd end up in another dream world or whatever. But the fact that I'd thought for just a moment that we were back in the real world made this all the more soul-crushing. It feels like those fucking ghosts are toying with us at this point. I take a deep breath, willing myself not to lose it. Not yet, at least.
Jace, I'm gonna move to the deck.
I get a better grip onto Carl's side as he starts to move around the glass doors, his hooves clopping while I hop along. He stares out, slowly reaching up with a hand to tug at the handle. To my surprise, it opens. I guess I'd thought that it would be the same as the last place we were in, that we'd be locked in or something. I follow Carl as he steps out onto the balcony, taking slow, careful steps, as if afraid that the deck might give out. The air is hot and heavy, almost humid. That isn't normal at all in Echo. Sure, it would get really hot, but it's a desert. Humidity is near non-existent. We reach the railing and stare out at the town below the foothills that Carl's mansion sits on. I take in a soft breath. Just like the dream I had, the ruins of Echo aren't ruins anymore. Dozens of old-fashioned wooden buildings dot the edge of the lake. A little ways away, I see the familiar buildings of the motel and supermarket, along with the small neighborhood of my childhood. And along Main Street I see a few buildings that I don't recognize. Not quite as old-fashioned as the buildings along the lake, but still pretty old looking.
What the hell?
Carl almost whines out the words as I see him grip tightly into the railing. I move closer to his side, putting an arm around his shoulders. Come on, man. We're gonna figure this out. This is just... I struggle to find out what this just is, but I come up short. Listen, I saw this in a dream, and I think they were trying to tell me something.
What dream?
A dream I had before I woke up. I had them almost every time we pass out. Why are you the only one having these dreams? I jump as Jenna speaks right behind me. I turn around, finding her eyeing me suspiciously. I don't know. None of you had dreams?
I did.
Raven pops his head from around the glass doors, still with that bizarrely resilient grin on his face.
But it was about that black shadow creature thing chasing me through the kitchen, so I guess it's not really useful.
What did you see in your dream, Chase?
Well, this... I waved my hand out at the alternate reality town. And then to mine, too. Like, red stuff spread out of it over the town. Then I saw a noose. I instinctively look over the edge of the balcony, down toward where I remember seeing the tree. Carl looks too.
What is it?
Well, I saw a tree with a noose on it. Carl looks back up at me.
Down there?
I think so? The utter defeat in Carl's face has me hesitating to confirm it.
What the fuck?
I take a deep breath, trying to put what I feel into words. That dream, the way it zeroed in on the tree, it felt meaningful. I think we need to go to it.
Jesus, why?
Carl buries his face in his hands as he leans against the railing, shaking his head slowly from side to side. I don't know, but I don't know where else to start. This place is massive.
So what, they put another letter there for us to find for some reason?
Maybe.
Guys?
Carl keeps his head in his hands as I turn around. Raven is still standing by the glass door, but he's looking back into the room.
Jenna left.
What? Sure enough, Jenna is nowhere to be seen. Where did she go? Raven shrugs.
Downstairs, I guess.
Was she going to the tree? I start to move back into the house, then remember my destroyed ankle. I look back and see that Carl is still slumped against the railing. Carl? He doesn't look up. Carl, we need to get moving. Finally, the ram pulls his head out of his arms and turns to help me. He gets me into our familiar position with me clinging to his neck while I hop along. I'm relieved he's actually moving, but I don't like the dull look in his eyes one bit. Raven, Carl, and I head down the hall toward the stairs. Raven's right. It's like a dream of Carl's house. Carl mentions that there are a few extra doors, all of them which lead into bare hardwood floor rooms. The ground level of the house, though, looks mostly normal. As we make our way through Carl's sort of home, I realize something. You guys hear the trains when we were on the deck?
Maybe. Why?
I thought I did. Just kind of weird. Like, what are those trains doing in a world that isn't really real?
Maybe it is real.
Maybe. I'm not convinced. As we pass through the living room, I can see that it's set up like it always was, and the kitchen looks to be in order as well. As we step outside, I notice that the mansion looks the same for the most part. Not the massive old look it had in my dream. I hop along the curving driveway from Carl's house like I remember in my dream. How Jenna would be able to find the tree on her own is beyond me. The only indication I'd given her as to where it was a glance over the railing of the deck.
Man, it's so fucking close to being real, this place.
Yeah. I don't have much else to add, but he's right. It feels so close to being home, but none of it is home. I slow my pace as I turn right at the end of Carl's driveway, practically tugging the ram along. We moved a short distance down the road, then moved to the edge of the left side of the road. I looked down over the slope into the rocky sagebrush-covered slope. And there's Jenna. Somehow, she immediately found it on her own. That old and rickety wooden platform sits under the tree. The tree and platform definitely aren't in the real echo. There's a few scant mentions of a hanging tree in my research. If it was still standing, I'd have gone to get some film for my project. That project seems like something I was working on years ago at this point. I carefully start to climb down the slope, clinging to Carl. I'm about to call out to Jenna when I stop cold. As we moved to the side, the thick trunk of the tree shifted in my field of view, and revealed the noose. Unlike my dream, the noose isn't empty. Hanging from the noose is a body. From where I'm standing, I can't exactly see what it is. Its back is to us, and all we can make out is a head, hands, and feet, and some old-fashioned clothes. Overalls and a cotton shirt of some kind. The clothes look worn and old, like they'd been sitting out in the elements for years. I stop moving, instead staring at the body. Carl freezes too, and I can feel his ragged breathing in my ear.
Jesus.
Carl gasps. I stare for what feels like an entire minute before I find my voice. Jenna? She's also facing the body, so I can't see her face, but she holds up a hand towards me to quiet me before slowly pacing around the platform. It looks like she's moving towards the front, so I still myself and slowly follow her. I don't want to look at the body as I move, but I can't tear my eyes away. It's old. Very old. The fur is mostly gone, the skin underneath black and leathery. The face is drooping and sunken, the eyelids closed. It's been out in the sun for a very long time. I don't know much about corpses, so I don't know how long. I just know it's been a very long time. From what I can tell, it's a canine of some sort. Some kind. A fox? John? For some reason, I look towards Jenna to see if she'll let us know who it is. She doesn't, instead just staring at the body. Carl tightens his grip around my shoulders. I'm not sure if it's for support against the uneven ground, or the horror in front of us. Raven has chosen not to follow. Instead, he stands back behind the platform, looking away from the body. I swallow hard, trying to keep my nerves under control, trying to look at the situation like it's a simple task. Do you guys see anything? A note or something? I try to search the platform and avoid looking up at the body.
There's something in its mouth.
Carl points up at the corpse with a shaking finger. He's right. It's a flash of white in the mouth of the corpse, just barely sticking out from what looks like gnarled teeth. A piece of paper, maybe? I'm surprised at how successful I am at keeping my voice calm. I sort of feel a little numb to all of this, but I think we both realize at the same time what this means. We're going to have to actually get that piece of paper.
Fuck, man. Why do we have to do this? Why don't they just tell us what they want us to know?
I cling to Carl as much as he's clinging to me, trying to keep him calm. Listen, I'll get it. It's just a body.
No, it's not. Nothing's just as it is in this fucked up place.
Jenna suddenly turns on the two of us, causing both of us to flinch back from her. Chase, you need to get it.
What? Why? You can't even fucking walk.
I can crawl. He had the dream. They want him to be the one to get it. He volunteered anyway.
That doesn't make sense.
It makes perfect sense.
Why the hell don't you get it?
Carl has adjusted himself so he's standing halfway in front of me protectively. Because that's what they want.
That's bullshit. If you know something, Jenna, won't you just fucking tell us?
Carl's snarling at Jenna now, which is all the more impressive because rams can't snarl. We can't be doing this now. Here we are in this fucked up dimension in front of a mummified corpse, arguing. I put my hand against Carl's chest. Listen, I'll get it. This is what they want, and this will help us move forward. I try not to think about actually going up the wooden steps to stand in front of that corpse, but I don't really have any other options right now. Carl doesn't loosen his hold on me.
Fuck no. Jenna, you get it since you seem to know what the fuck is going on.
Carl squeezes me tighter against his chest as he leans in to glare at Jenna. Jenna glares right back. I can see her lips trembling as she appears to be holding back her own snarl. Stop it. Carl, let go. I'm going to get that paper.
No, Chase.
Carl, nothing bad has happened when it comes to getting these stupid pieces of paper. I'll be fine. Carl looks down at me, his face etched with stubborn resoluteness. It's at least a nice change from the almost dead look that I'd seen earlier. He stares at me hard for a good, long while, to the point where I almost blush until finally...
Fine. But I'm coming with you.
I don't think...
Shut up, Jenna!
Each word seems to have to work hard to get itself out of Carl's muzzle. It's okay. Let's
Go.
Let's go. I let Carl hold my hand as we both moved toward the platform over uneven ground. I noticed Raven standing off to the side, still facing away from us. I'd have to check on him later. The wood creaks softly under our feet as we make our way up the steps. I focus on my hopping foot, not wanting to look at the body. Once we reach the top, though, I realize that I'm going to have to. Leaning heavily against Carl for support, I look up. The corpse's eyes are open now. Two yellow, piercing eyes that are sunk deep in the skull stare back at me. You are disgusting. I'm disgusting. You're abhorrent, despicable, horrible. For telling truths. For telling your own truth. You don't know my story. My truth. Your truth is a delusion. You cruel, filthy son of a bitch. What do you want from me? I want justice. You and your people don't know the meaning of the word. Just let it rest. Let me rest. And you leave me restless. Murderer. You may not have killed me physically, but you murdered my life, you fucking... The otter hears us. So, if he hears us, then it wants him to. Why does it? You think I know? Why does it create these places? Let us do small things and take it away. It's a game. My life, my reputation is a game to it. Ha! A game. Go on. Why don't you tell him your truth? The otter works for you. I wouldn't help him even if I could. But you can't, can you? You are but smoke. Good thing, too. You and your fucking lies. I will tell him this. Otter, you are stuck here because you cannot see the truth. And until you do, how will he know the truth if you only lie? You are disgusting. I think that's where we're going to leave it for today. As always, thanks for watching, everyone. And we'll see you next time. Bye.